So on the 10th and 11th of July, I visited J-Zone in Tallinna Kultuurikatel, or as it's known in English, I believe, Tallinn Creative Hub. So this was the first convention after the pandemic anywhere in Estonia, and of course I went, and of course I wanted to share my feelings, and I wanted to do a little video because it was just so nice to be back at the convention scene after such a long unfortunate break. So I arrived there on Saturday, and there were a lot of people at the beginning of the first day, but I feel like this really massive crowd died out really quickly. Of course, some of them went to panels and some of them went to see K-pop dances, which I'm gonna be talking about in a minute. But I feel like the first day started with a lot of people, and then as the day progressed there were less and less people, and like the big crowd died out pretty quickly. I think for vendors it was sort of disappointing because they would have liked to have more customers, and there were certainly less people there than there were last time I visited, which is reasonable and understandable, and I believe the hosts and organizers probably also had some sort of a limit to how many people there can be, which also perfectly makes sense. Now, before I start talking to you about the actual convention and what I did, I want to talk to you about the convention schedule. And you can see the convention schedule here in this video. This timetable does feature some concrete times as well. But then they had a whole big block of things that just said from 12 to 6. And then it said a bunch of stuff, and they were numbered. And I was really confused by this, so because I wanted to see some of the really specific stuff mentioned in this 12 to 6 block, I asked one of the staff members if they could tell me when the specific thing I wanted to see was. One of my friends has recently published a book, and they were going to be talking about that book, and I really wanted to see that. So I asked one of the staff members when that specific event is, and they had no idea. So they asked me to ask from the ticket office, and I went and asked there, and they had no idea either. And they said no one is going to be having any idea because the thing just sort of is in free flow. And I thought that was a really interesting organizational choice. Let's just say that. Like, for the main stage, everything was organized. There were times when something was gonna start, and then of course sometimes stuff was late, but there was still like a proper timetable. But then for the rest of the stuff, it was just kind of, this is gonna happen sometime during the day. And I found out when my friend's thing was only because I asked them specifically. And I would have totally missed it had I not been told, because their thing was only like maybe 15 minutes long. So I would have totally missed that. So yeah, that's the whole thing. So with that in mind, let's move on to what I actually did. First day I spent a good amount of time, as I already mentioned, trying to find out when my friend's thing is. But on the first day they actually also had K-pop dances. Now there were 3 slots, 2 1-hour slots on the first day and 1 1-hour slot on the second day, on Sunday. And I couldn't even get into the first 1-hour slot. Like, I went there for a moment and the room was just so full, I just left immediately. But here's some footage from the second slot, and actually I think you can see the dancers in this video better than I could see them. The room was still really full. There were some free seats still, but it was still really hard for me to see, and so I just was there for a little bit. One thing I feel I should say about Estonian conventions is that some of them are very heavy on the sort of academic and almost classical Japanese culture, and this convention seemed to be one of those things. Now, to be fair, they did advertise it as a sort of Japanese cultural event, or maybe even Asian cultural event, but it is very much an anime convention still. Like, the vendors you see, the people you see, the sort of audience it has is still very much interested in K-pop and anime. But they had a lot of classical Japanese culture things, which I'm not saying is necessarily bad, and some of it was really interesting and some of it I was less interested in myself, like the martial arts portion, which I still looked at a lot because my friends thing was in between 2 slots of this, and it was interesting. It's just maybe not my personal taste. They had different sorts of blades, they had different sorts of weaponry, archery, that kind of stuff. It was really interesting. But on the same note, they had things like a flute concert, which actually featured lots of anime music, so actually fair game, and tea ceremonies. They had a lot of tea related things and things related to I didn't visit all of those, but they did have a lot of things. I think they had things related to calligraphy and lots of things related to like very much classical Japanese culture. So anyways, the highlight of the second day was obviously the cosplay competition, and I filmed that a lot, so I have a lot of clips of the cosplay competition. There was I also took some pictures with other cosplayers and pictures of my own cosplay, which by the way I honestly really enjoyed and I'm really happy with. So cosplay competition was honestly great. I enjoyed it. There were people with different skill levels. There were but there were some older contestants, which is cool. And they are also planning to introduce next year a separate category for people who cosplay who are 40 plus. So that's really cool. And I just enjoyed it. It was an enjoyable experience, and I hadn't seen a cosplay competition in a really long time. And it was nice to see one again, and it was nice to see lots of new costumes because there hasn't been a lot of cons. It didn't feel like I was seeing the same costumes over and over again, which sometimes happens at Estonian conventions because we have the same cosplayers taking part of the cosplay competitions con after con. But here there were a lot of new cool cosplays. I actually expected more Demon Slayer cosplays, not even in the competition, but like in the general con room, but there were still a lot of Demon Slayer cosplayers, but I expected somehow there to be even more. Like I think I just saw like maybe 3 or 4 Nezukas, so that sort of surprised me, but it was still definitely like the most popular thing to cosplay. I felt there were maybe a bit more cosplayers in the crowds on the second day, even though there were less people on the second day. I also looked at a cosplay exhibition which they had downstairs and which was very cool. They had lots of lovely cosplays like displayed on mannequins, and that was really lovely. So on the second day I also visited this amazing flute concert featuring anime music. I also saw Onyx concert. Onyx is the mascot of the local Estonian anime shop where I actually work. So thanks, a big thanks for my work for getting me the ticket to this convention. Hashtags not sponsored, but actually kind of sponsored because they pay my salary. So we had a concert with our singer cosplaying as a character of our store, and she did her wonderful cosplay. She sang covers of well-known fantastic anime songs, and she was overall just great. And I'm not just saying that because I worked there. I honestly think that she's a great cosplayer, she's a great artist, she's a great singer, and it was a really good concert, and I think people really enjoyed it, and like people really queued up to take photos with her, which also like shows that people really liked her and enjoyed her concert. So her name is Paula Maidra, and she's great, and you should check her out. And after that there was the award ceremony for games as well. They actually had games. They had places where you could game. They had some game tournaments. I just sort of peeked in and had a look and left, but they did have those, and they awarded the winners, and they awarded the winners of the cosplay competition and the Cave of Dance competition. And that was the end of that. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really nice to be out cosplaying again, and just really nice to be out going on a con again. It was fun. And I hope you have enjoyed this video as well. If you have, leave a like below, check out some of my other videos, and please, if you're not yet subscribed, then please do subscribe for more videos like this and more videos in general, because I do quite a lot of different kinds of videos. Oh, and I wanted to apologize for the seagulls that you can hear in the background. I was hoping you wouldn't be able to hear them, but you definitely can. So sorry about that, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!